Welcome, everybody, to the JJ and Pug Show, recording the September 11th, 2024, Part 3 on September 12th, 2024, in the Highland Communities podcast studio. Doing so because last night got late.
It did.
And we got lives outside of this.
And I'm a wuss. I got to get up at 4 a.m. and I was tired.
Nah, dude, I wouldn't say you're a wuss. Here's the next one that I wanted to throw in there, by the way. This has got a strong 80s vibe.
Yeah.
And it is not an 80s song.
The least.
Yeah, not an 80s song. I want to say it's like 2023 is when this was released. This is a band that Chalet's cousin actually suggested to me. The band name is The War on Drugs.
Go figure.
And the name of
like they're high.
And the name of this song is I Don't Live Here Anymore. So, it's pretty solid. It is a pretty solid song. It's one of those songs you can have in the background, and it doesn't get in the way. You know what I mean? It's just there. And you'll notice it as we're talking. You just kind of forget it's there as it fades in.
It's like hold music.
Yeah.
On
hold
phone.
music. I don't know if I'm breaking any news here, but I don't think ASU is going to win this game in San Marcos, Texas against Texas State.
Yeah, it's still 28-28.
28-28 with 9.5 to go. And they're about to punt it away here on 4th and 15. So I
not feeling too confident.
Not feeling great. And the Dolphins are getting absolutely destroyed by the Bills right now, which part of me makes me feel a little bit better about the Cardinals' loss to the Bills, because it was, took it all the way down to the wire within the last 30 seconds, right? But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I don't know about the Dolphins, man. I don't know. Like, they just don't seem to be like the type of team that's real tough.
Well, they've already been suffering some drama in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And that's where we can kind of segue right into that, because I think it's something that needs to be talked about, right? It's week one, and what was the biggest headline? It wasn't a team beating another team. It wasn't anything crazy. What has everybody been talking about?
The number one thing everyone's talking about is Tyreek Hill being detained by, was it the Pinal? Was it the Dade County Sheriff?
I think so.
Or Miami Police Department. I can't remember which one it was.
I think it was the Dade County one.
Dade County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Law enforcement in Miami.
Yes.
And it was a traffic stop.
For reckless driving.
Which
usually consists of some kind of speeding violation and
excessive
cutting lane traffic.
Yeah, excessive lane switching.
Something aggressive, following distance, something like that.
Yeah. And so anyway, he's heading to the stadium. He gets pulled over. And it's obviously a route that the entire team takes, because apparently multiple teammates pulled over.
Yep, Calais Campbell's
one of them. Pulled over to try and see what was going on. Is everything all right? And I kind of feel like I understand the position that the teammates are taking. I get that. We're like, hey, we just want to see, is everything all right over here? At the same time, I have a lot of empathy for the police officers. I'm just going to say police officers. I don't want to worry. I'm not going to say sheriffs, whatever.
For the cops.
We're just going to, the cops. So, there you go. For the cops, because you don't know what these dudes are doing. And let's be honest, man, a lot of those guys coming out are huge, intimidating guys.
And the thing is here, so we take it from the top with what we saw first. At face value, it looked bad. Like, you start wondering, what is this cop doing? He looks like he's on a power trip. You're putting an NFL player who everybody knows pretty much who he is, right? Not that excuses any type of behavior on the player's part, but when you're looking at it from the other view, the view that's not on the body cam of the officer, right? So you're looking at it like, okay, this just looks bad.
From the people that were recording it as they're passing by.
And you're like, oh my gosh, dude, what are you doing? Like, he's in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or some nonsense.
Some crazy $250,000, $500,000 sports car.
He's right down the road from the football stadium. What was he doing? It's just, there's a lot of stuff that you're like, come on, bro. Like, what are you doing? But then the sheriff, the police released the body cam footage, and now things have changed.
I saw two of them.
Two different views.
I looked at two different ones. There was the initial officer that went to the window.
And doesn't bang on the window. Nope. He knocks on the window. Which, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care who you are, what you do. Like, if you want to at least release some tension, I got a lot of friends that are in law enforcement. Yeah. Roll the windows down. Like, that's a simple thing. Like,
be ready.
They're going to do two things. They're going to walk up anticipating waiting to make sure, they're obviously worried. They don't know what they're coming up on. Bad guys drive Lamborghinis. You just don't know, right?
Yeah.
Two, dude, they're going to ask you for your driver's license, insurance, and registration. You're never going to not have to give that.
Yeah.
So there's not a place for you to argue about giving it up, right? So just be ready. Like, here you go. Hands where they're visible, right? Because if there's no hands, if you can see your hands, they don't have a gun on them, then you don't have nothing to worry about. It's hands that kill people. The gun can be sitting anywhere. If it's not in your hands, it's not going to kill anybody.
Yeah.
So you should know that's coming, and that doesn't happen. The fact that you even have to knock on somebody's window as a police officer to get a tour done in a limo tinted type car.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, in a super dark tint.
So, and that alone itself, right? If you put yourself in the officer's shoes, he doesn't know what's on the other side of that glass. He has no clue.
Yeah.
So you got to say, okay, why are your windows not down anyway? And then he barely rolls it down, rolls it back up. It's like, dude, what are you doing? And why did you hesitate giving him your license?
Well, not only that, but you can hear him say, hey, man, you're making me late. Do what you got to do. I have a hard time with that because, like, he's not making you late.
No.
You are making yourself late. We've all been pulled over.
Yep.
All of us have been pulled over, and every single time, I'm saying that, I think there have been 2 times where I've been pulled over where I was like, I am not in the wrong here. I did nothing wrong.
Right.
Specifically, I remember one time I got pulled over. And it was in Queen Creek. It was before the Queen Creek Police Department existed. It was a Maricopa County Sheriff's, and he pulls me over and he says, "Hey, your registration's expired." I'm like, "No, it's not." And he's like, yeah, looks like it is. And I'm like, it is. It is absolutely not. I have it right here. I pull up the registration. I show it. And even the sticker on my license plate is updated. He's like, I ran the plates, man. It says it's expired. I'm like, I didn't forge this. He's like, well, I'm going to have to give you a ticket anyway. And I was furious.
For what?
My tags were expired according to his system. And I was furious. So now I have to go down to Maricopa County court office on a prescribed day to be able to say, my tags were never expired, to avoid the fine. Time out of my day, drive down to the courthouse. I was furious. There's been another time where I got pulled over. This was in Utah, so you know what? Screw you, Utah. It was on the 15. Speed limit is 85 miles an hour. Believe it or not, 85 miles an hour.
That little stretch.
Yeah. So I was... Oh! ASU just recovered a fumble. Thank you, ASU. That little stretch is 85. I was going 87 in the 85 in the right lane. I got passed on the left by a guy. I got pulled over for going 87 in an 85.
That's insane.
It was the most angry I've ever been. I was like, dude, I got passed. And you're pulling me over for going 2 miles over the speed limit. It was infuriating.
Do you get a ticket?
Yeah.
For 2 over?
For 2 over.
I mean... Okay,
that is excessive.
It's not excessive. That's a bad word. It is.
I think it's excessive.
It's not excessive. It's you broke the law, regardless of how you want to cut it.
You're right.
But it's there's a thing called letter of the law versus spirit of the law. Like, why are you, dude? Your speedometer might have said 85.
I was gonna say my speedometer
you got to give a plus minus, right?
Exactly,
like you would
well within there.
You don't have to, but that's a reasonable thing to do.
You should.
Yeah, that's a reasonable thing to do.
And
at the end of the day, if you're doing 1 over, you're speeding. Let's just make it clear. Speed limit is limit for a reason.
Technicality for sure. The thing that gets me though is I was passed by the guy. A guy passed me and he did not get pulled over. I did. I think it's probably because I was going slower and it was easier to catch up with me. I don't know. This goes all the way back to saying we've all been pulled over. And in very, 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 and I mean very rare circumstances, you're not in the wrong. More often than not, you are in the wrong. Yep. You've done something. There is a reason you got pulled over. Even in the 2 examples that I gave, both police officers technically followed the law. One guy ran my plates. His system said my plates were expired. That technically...
He acted in good faith, it's called.
Yeah, and the other guy, even though I was only going 2 miles over the speed limit, come on, technically I broke the law. Right. So I can't even say in those 2 instances in which I was completely in the free, but I felt like I was.
Right.
Both times, every time, anytime I've ever been pulled over, window goes down, I pull off to the side of the road, windows down, my hands are on my steering wheel, okay?
Just wait for the police officer,
just wait for him to come up, and I usually have my wallet, I've already pulled my wallet out and have it just sitting on like the center console or on a cup holder or something like that, and wait for him. Once he comes up, what are you doing? Tell him what I'm doing, hand it over. I know he's going to ask for it, hands on the steering wheel, okay? Yep. I feel like everybody should know this. And if you don't know it, consider that your instructional video. That's what you do. Okay?
It's very simple.
Very simple. And if you do that, there's so much tension just lowered.
Yep.
Okay? Because one thing that I want to say, I'm not a police officer. Okay? But you know what? Let's see. Do I have this loaded up here on this one? I'm not sure that I did. Dang it. I didn't put it on here. Hang on. We're just going to pause real quick, and I want to put this on. Okay, so here is Dan Bickley from the Bickley and Murata Show on 98.7 FM explaining his feelings on Tyreek Hill and his quote-unquote detainment.
I'm going to say this. I am very, very sympathetic to police officers. My nephew is one in the city of Chicago. I worry about him on the daily. You know how nuts this society has gotten. You know how weapon heavy this society is. You don't know what you're walking into ever as a police officer. And we've had many examples of that. We lost an officer here who was a huge Cardinal fan who was just responding to a disturbance, and he walked right into an ambush. These officers do not know what they are walking into.
True.
And there are a lot of people with guns in their automobiles. So while that video struck me the same way as, okay, this is over the top behavior, I'm watching all of this. Tyreek Hill was speeding going into the stadium. He was not going 100 miles per hour like some Twitter theory had it, but he was speeding. You can see it. He got pulled over, and he would not roll the window down. Don't you have to comply with the police officer?
Yes.
And if you're not complying with the police officer, don't they have the right to assume your intentions are malicious?
Don't they?
You need to comply. The side of the road on a traffic stop or an incident with police is not the time to argue with them about being right or wrong.
No.
That's what court's for. And you know what? If you're wronged, guess what? You can sue the department for violating your constitutional rights. And guess what? You will get paid to go away.
Yeah.
That's how you do that. You don't do it on the side of the road because you're never going to win.
No. And not only that, but I look at it from the perspective of a law enforcement officer. Like you said, the way that Dan Bickley from Arizona Sports 98.7 FM stated in his show, as a police officer, you never know what you're walking into. Earlier in the show, and I didn't clip this part, they talk about the fact that typically, more often than not, you're meeting people on their worst day at their worst moment as a police officer. You're not meeting them on their best day and their best moment.
Not at all.
So you have to walk into this situation already guards up. Already like, okay, what am I getting into here? Am I gonna get a reasonable person?
Right.
Or am I gonna get somebody that's gonna be super belligerent, angry, mean, jumping down my throat, screaming? Are they gonna have a gun in their car? And you don't know. And I say this from the perspective of, I'm not sure if I ever told you this. I think I've told you this. My uncle was a police chief in a small town in Utah, responded to a call, and was killed. Mm-hmm. This is a very personal thing to me. Again, I'm not a police officer. My uncle was killed in the prime of his life. Didn't get to see his grandkids because somebody was that stupid. There's not enough words for me to say how dumb that person was in that moment. And my uncle was just doing his job.
Right.
Responded to a call. As he got out of his car, the guy started firing off. Got my uncle in the head. Done immediately.
Over.
And all he was doing was trying to keep the peace, right? That was his job. So as a police officer, you never know when that moment is going to happen to you. So Tyreek Hill, this is not a race thing. I know lots of people brought it into a race thing. Michael Wilbon on PTI and ESPN, pardon the interruption, talked about it being a race thing. He ultimately said it's probably not so much a thing as I'm saying in this instance because we do have body cam footage.
And that's what body cam footage has been huge with policing. Everybody before it was always one-sided. It was on camera, and you had to okay. Body cams have come a long way, and you know what? They are a great thing for law enforcement,
and they're a great thing for everybody.
Yeah,
they protect everybody because let's not pretend like there aren't bad actors on both sides.
100%.
We can't pretend like that's
and I'm not excusing the officer. The officer took it to a whole new level. Like he definitely escalated that situation when he should have de-escalated a little bit. Right? Have a little conversation with him. Explain to him, hey, listen, man. Like I know who you are, but I have a job to do. Guess what? Worst case, you're going to get a ticket and you're going to be back to work.
Yeah.
But you not giving me your stuff, failure to comply with a lawful order, you're going to get put in handcuffs like anybody else. The fact that you're an NFL player does not excuse you from following the law. Yeah. And that's where Tyreek, I think, lost it. Was he put himself above everybody else because of who he is.
He thought he was more important. At the end of the day,
you play a game. Don't forget it, bro. Like you're not important. You play a game for a living. You're an entertainer at best. You are nobody special. You're not the president of the United States. You're not a governor. You're not somebody that's got legislative authority or any kind of legislative immunity during a certain amount of time. You're nobody.
You're barely more educated than the base
It's
part
got
of our
nothing even to do with
society.
education.
No, what I mean is, you are not that.
Just because you're popular.
You are fast.
Yeah, you're popular.
You are fast and you can catch a ball.
Yeah,
now, I'm not going to pretend like that's not cool.
It is. But that's not, that puts you above everybody else.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that you have to follow the law. You don't have to follow the law. I do, because I'm a normal, average, everyday citizen. And I don't make millions of dollars playing a game for a living. You get to be above the law. And the problem is this is where you see with these professional athletes are not, they should be held to a higher standard. And the problem is they're not. They're allowed to get away with more because of who they are.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, let's not say nothing. He's such and such, or we don't want to damage the team. And I don't give a damn about all that. Like, you should be held accountable. You should be, it's like cops are held to a higher standard, right? People in public safety are held to a higher standard. Why are professional athletes not held to a higher standard so that they should? I mean, for crying out loud, kids are looking up to you. Mm-hmm. And then the nerve of him to say that cop needs to be fired for what he did.
When I heard that today,
I know he's out. I'm like, who do you think you are, bro?
Dude, this guy. Listen, like you're making $30 million a year to play a game. This guy is making, I'll say barely above a minimum. I mean, a middle age or middle class wage. And he puts his life on the line every day. He had a moment in which you raised the stakes. Now, did he calm them down? Absolutely not. Did he take him to a higher level? Yes, he did. Is it Luce's job worthy? Not even close.
No.
Had you just rolled your window down, left it down, doesn't he have to be all the way, by the way?
No.
Doesn't he have to be all the way so that you're not worried about people seeing you? Guess what? You made the scene. You made the scene. You caused it to be a bigger scene. And when you made it a bigger scene, now we're talking about it nationwide.
And it's just so infuriating.
It's so infuriating.
It is an incident that didn't have to happen. That just failure to comply does not help you at all. Like, Just do what you're told. And I know I'm saying this from a white guy, right? Because you don't understand. You're a white guy and all that. You know what? With body camera now, you can't say that anymore. It was because Tyreek's actions, what he did and how it resulted was because of him. The cops should have never taken it that far. You should have talked your way out of it. You are trained specifically to de-escalate things, especially in today's world.
Yeah.
Where, hey, look, you gotta. If you can't get as a cop, you need to be able to talk yourself out of a paper bag, right? Mm-hmm. If this guy's being all crazy and hey man, look, this is the law. Like, I'm gonna give you some slack here, but look, I just have a job to do. If you take it down a notch, fine. That's what the cop should have done, but he didn't. But that doesn't excuse Tyreek Hill at all. He has a equal, if not more, responsibility in this case because he made that situation. He created the incident. He created the situation to get to where it was. The problem is the officer failed to recognize that, hey, look, I need to calm down. Like, there's no reason, especially because you know who he is. Mm-hmm. You know people got their cameras out. You know what's happening. And even though I have a body cam on, and guess what? We'll release that to the media, and you can see how much of a jerk he really was the whole time. I shouldn't have to be a jerk. I need to make sure that I'm like, hey, we're not going to make me, because all it takes is one incident and we have riots again. We have all kinds of crap because of one bad decision on a police officer. And I think, and what's crazy is they can't even say it's a race thing because the cop's not even white.
I was waiting to say that. It looked like Latin to me.
Yeah,
he was a Latin police officer.
He's definitely like a Miami.
He's definitely my
type.
He's definitely a minority. We'll say that. He's definitely a minority.
100%.
And it was the initial police officer, or cop, I should say. I don't know. The initial law enforcement officer that walked up to the window, knocked on it. He seemed like he was pretty calm.
Yeah.
It was when Tyreek constantly was not listening to him, disobeying, doing what he wanted to. When I don't know if this guy was a supervisor or senior officer or whatever, he's the one that came in and ratcheted it up and got angry. And that was the guy that got just pissed. Like, dude, we're just asking you to roll your window down.
Well, and I'm not saying the cop shouldn't be disciplined. There are different different levels of discipline. Like you could go from a letter of reprimand to some hard time or whatever.
Definitely not lose a job.
But what's he losing his job for? Because at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill was wrong. And if that's anybody else, nobody bats an eye at what happens because he failed to do what he was told.
Yeah.
But because of who he is, it becomes a problem. And I watched it. I think I sent you the Stephen A. Smith thing today. Did you watch that?
Maybe. Dude,
I sent
my
it
phone.
To you. It's fine.
The list of notifications is like 6 times the length of my phone.
I told you, or I sent it to you, but I'm not a Stephen A. Smith fan at all.
Not a fan.
Okay, I think he is just terrible.
Dude, him and Skip Bayless to me just run their mouth. I'll say Stephen A's not as bad as Skip. But they're both bad. And I know you hate him because of his Cowboys thing.
But I will tell you, he actually puts the blame also on Tyreek, and he goes off about it. And he explains, when you get pulled over, he goes, when I get pulled over, all my windows go down, I put my hands on the steering wheel, and I wait for instruction. It is that simple. I don't care who you are, what neighborhood you grow up in, nothing. A police officer is not going to just walk up and shoot you or pull you out of a car for nothing. It's just not going to happen in today's world. Police officers have come so far in the sense of they will get in trouble for that, right? They got body cams that show that you're not going to risk your entire career for that crap. Now, if it's justified like it was, unfortunately for Tyreek, everything he did was probably in policy and fine because he failed to he was given a lawful order, failed to ID yourself, you failed to keep your window down, you failed to give me your driver's license. Guess what? I'm sorry. Now you're getting out of the car and you're going into handcuffs until I figure everything out. And you brought that on yourself. You didn't have to go that route. If you would have rolled your window down and said, here you go. Everything's good. Here's my registration. Cool. You know what's funny? Is the cop probably would have recognized who he is and just let him go with a warning. Hey, dude, you can't drive like that, bro. You're in a sports car. Like, everybody knows who you are. I have a job to do, so I have to stop you. But come on, man. Now you're putting me in this position, you know?
So here's two things I wanted to point out. When Hollywood Brown got pulled over and got a ticket here in Arizona for going like 120 on the 101. Was there any talk about the way he was reprimanded or anything like that?
Nope.
No. The only thing I found out is, criminal speeding, because 120 into 65 is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
When Rashid Rice, who was it? Was it Rashid Rice?
For here?
No, in Dallas. It happened in Texas. I'm almost positive it was him. He's the Chiefs receiver. When he got pulled over, didn't hear anything about it other than he got pulled over for having again, ridiculous speeding situation. Was there any talk about the way the police officers handled him?
No.
No. Both of these are black men, by the way. And both of these guys are driving expensive cars. The difference there is, I'm sure both of those guys just did what they're supposed to.
It's simple. It's just simple. It's not now on a side of the road, on a traffic stop, whatever, is not the place for you to argue with your point. Like, you're just not going to win because you're going to have police officer fine. They're going to get backup. They're going to get people there. And at the end of the day, they have this, have you heard of sovereign citizens? This is very common with sovereign citizens. If you look into them, they believe in only jurisdiction of the sheriff. And if you're a highway patrolman or a city cop and you pull them over, they don't give you anything. They essentially make you take them to jail, right? That's just, they only believe in one police officer or whatever authority
jurisdiction, and
they don't believe they're driving anywhere, so they don't need licenses. They're traveling. There's a difference. Like it is bonkers,
so
bro.
Nuts.
People, but they believe this stuff.
Yeah.
But that's
there are flat earthers out there too. Yeah, so just because you believe something does not mean you're right.
So these people, very more so than not, are being taken out like that and put on the ground, put in handcuffs, and taken to jail. Guess what? Nobody blinks an eye at it. Again, it all comes down to who he is. Yep. And again, if we held him, if Miami. Dude, I would love for the head coach, instead of doing what he did. Well, I don't know what it feels like to be in Tyreek's shoes, and I'm sorry, I can't feel that. Shut up, dude. No, you're not. You're just saying that to the freaking media. Like, you're not. You have to recognize that he was wrong.
I'll say this: at that point, body cam footage had not been released.
Okay, agreed.
So I do give Coach McDaniel a pass at that. Now, I would love to know.
What do you think?
I would love to know what was said after.
But imagine now this comes out with the body cam and you see the full story, right? Because as the owner, if you're smart, which they're not, because they're all about money and that's all they care about.
They're not going to say anything.
But here's the thing: if you see the body cam and you see that he represented your organization that way and he brought that on himself, you know what the tone would be said if you suspended him a game?
I think that would, bro. That would create a firestorm of media. So it would be in the worst way possible.
You're right, and guess what? I would tell the media, listen, he is held to a higher standard. Who he is doesn't matter. I pay him millions of dollars to keep himself out of trouble and to do his job. All he did was bring negative light to the Miami Police Department, to the Miami Dolphins, and guess what? I'm not going to tolerate it. If you don't like it, guess what? We've got a fan base that does. I don't care. I'm going to lose a few. So what?
Yeah, I don't know if you lose a few. It is football.
But the thing is, one time you set the bar for everybody else because they know, dude, the owner ain't playing around. Or the head coach would see. I
don't know if I'd say a quarter.
Something
because it is something where it's like, okay, let's be real about this. Is it a big deal? No. It's not a big deal at all. Tyreek Hill got detained. He got handcuffed, put to the ground because he was being belligerent. That's all it was. Okay, he's going to pay a fine for the reckless driving, and that's going to be the end of it. The fact that we're talking about it is only because it got put all over ESPN, every sports app, notification, news source you go to. And I would love to say this. Chris Rock told us how to handle this a long time ago.
Right? Have you ever been face to face with a police officer and wondered, is he about to kick my ass?
This is from the Chris Rock show 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I don't even remember. He goes, it's really hilarious. It's like the original. Skit. It's like the original. Oh shoot, my camera just got off on me. It's like the original. Oh gosh, what's his name? Dave Chappelle show.
Yeah,
the original Chappelle show, and it's hilarious. Okay, so what does he do? He goes through the whole thing, and I only clipped out a bit of it because it's
long. It's YouTube. Long. If you haven't seen it, watch YouTube, it. It's worth watching.
This is the wrap up that he does. The review.
Now let's review. Obey the law. Use common sense. Stop immediately. Turn that shit off. Be polite. Shut the fuck up. Get a white friend. And last but not least, don't ride with a mad woman. If you follow these simple pointers, you probably won't get your ass kicked by the police.
And you know what?
I mean,
tell me he's wrong.
Valid points.
Obviously, the joke at the end, how, travel with a white friend and don't go with an angry woman. Those are jokes. Everything up to that point is like, tell me where he's wrong. Because he is right on every other instance.
Yep.
I don't know I don't know what else there is to say about it. That's it.
I think that's it. We beat it to a dead horse. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's always going to be talked about. It's going to fade out eventually because the body cam proves Tyreek was wrong.
Yeah.
And he came out today, I think, and it kind of said that, he should have done. I read a thing that he said that he should have acted differently.
But he still called for his job.
But he still said he should be, get out of here, bro.
That's ridiculous.
If you're going to fire him, then you need to be let go too. It's like you both were wrong.
Yeah.
You both were wrong on different aspects, but you both ended up being wrong at the end of it. You started it wrong and he ended it wrong.
I think I told you when I looked at it, the initial report was, I texted you and said, hey, did you see the body cam footage? You said, no, send it to me. Because when I saw it, the initial reports were, oh man, like you said, you immediately said, yeah, it's not a good look, man. It's not a good look.
I worried,
and you were specifically saying for the law enforcement agency.
Exactly.
Not a good look. And then when we saw the body cam footage, I feel like I could see your face explode.
Oh.
And we were just texting back and forth because I knew once you saw it, you were going to have the same thought I had. And that is, this is 85% Tyreek Hill's fault, 15% for the officer. Because I'm not absolving him from, he take it to a level did not need to go.
He has a duty to de-escalate that and at least try, right? If Tyreek continues to get mouthy and doesn't do what he's going to do, it ends the same way, but it's just more justified on the video when he's really a jerk, right? So, but yes, the officer should have definitely been like, hey, he just could have handled it better, and I think he'll get punished for it. But losing his job is not going to happen.
So, if do you think my assessment at 85-15 is right, or would you put more like 95-5?
No, I think it's probably, for me, it's like 75-25. Tyreek started that whole thing. 3/4 that's his fault, but the problem is the fourth quarter part is the officer when he should have just stopped. He could have made that 95% Tyreek's fault.
Yeah.
And just held, if he just would have acted with a little bit of like just self-control, like, dude, why are you taking it personal? That's the problem, right? A lot of you can't come into that taking it personal. You got to say, hey, look, he's going to get dealt with, but look, we know who he is. We know what's going on. We got to think smarter for a minute, right? You got to think globally. You can't just think of your little window can't be like this right there in that moment. You got to be thinking because you know it's going to be a global thing. And look what happened, dude. You lit a fire and it took off. So at the end of the day, just do what you're told. The side of the road is not the place to argue with the police. It's not the place to try to win against the police.
Because you're not going to win.
You're not going to there. Go to court. If your constitutional rights have been violated and you can prove that, guess what? There's litigation, there's civil stuff you can do. And the department, if they realize that they screwed up, they'll probably pay you to shut up.
Yep.
Go away.
Here's
X amount of money.
Works.
That's how it works. They're going to pay you. They've got deep pockets, and they will say, hey, they'll give them a number. They'll meet you in the middle, and guess what? You've now walked away with money just to stop it because they don't want it to go to court. They don't want to lose more money. They want to pay you, especially if they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you win. You're never going to win arguing with the police on the side of the road when more than likely, a big time majority of the time, they are right. Yep. And you just need to do what you're told. Even in the worst situation, if you've stolen a car and the cops pull you over and they've got you in a gun situation, guess what? If you just do what you're told, you're going to survive. Mm-hmm. They're going to have you open the car door. They're going to have you walk backwards. They're going to have you get on your knees. They're going to have you get down on the ground. They're going to have you do this. If you just do exactly what you're told, guess what? You're going to survive that encounter. And if they are wrong, you can get paid for it. But fighting and saying this didn't happen, dude. It's just. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, bro. Like
I know. I could too.
On.
Honestly, I could too because again, I talked about the story with my uncle. I could talk about this for days.
Yeah,
because it is something that I feel like we have we talked about this last time we talked about the division in the country. A lot of it has to do with this. This is one of those things that just divides people. It's not rocket science.
Which is crazy to me because it's not rocket science.
No,
it's common sense.
It's simple. But with that, we just have 30 minutes on that. So.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. One more thing that we had to go through, and I don't know if I want to do the other thing I have written down. We can say that.
Are we going
for
number
later.
2 right now?
I don't know what's number 2 because my screen shut off. Yes.
Let's talk about that, and then we'll be done.
Tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
It is never justified for Panda Express to have a long lineup in the drive-thru. And it should never take more than 5 minutes to be able to place an order, pay for it, and pick it up and walk out of there.
And 5 minutes is a long time.
It's a long time.
I mean, granted, like it's a little different in the sense of like usually the person taking the order, they got to walk through the line. They got to, but dude, but even then,
most of the time when you're going to a Panda Express drive-thru, they've got a little mini kitchen back there where they're taking the orders.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's like unless you ordered, a 3-plate triple orange chicken, they're like, hey, you know what? We're making a batch.
Pull up around front.
Yeah, pull around up front. We'll get to you. All the food's right there. I should not have to wait.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. That's one of the places where you should. I mean, everything's a buffet style essentially.
It's already made.
Putting it into your scoop, put your rice in, whatever. And even if you got 5 entrees, it shouldn't take very long for you to get everything.
100%. Now, I'm going to give you guys some credit over here. I love your teriyaki chicken.
Oh,
dude, that's a good thing. If there's a meal that I get to get out. And I know that I'm not have time to cook at home. And I'm like, I don't want to eat some garbage. I want to eat something that's all right. Dude, the super greens with some teriyaki chicken, I feel good. That's one of the few meals that I can eat and feel good from a drive-thru.
We talked. I get a 3 entree plate. It's all teriyaki chicken, and then it's a side of white rice. And you can put the teriyaki sauce on it, and it's literally chicken teriyaki.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, they give you a lot of chicken. Like it is a lot of protein, man. It is worth that. I'm like, okay, I can have that. And if you want to get a little crazy, sure, get some, one side of orange chicken and 2 sides of teriyaki chicken, whatever. You got to live a little.
I'll be honest with you, right now, I could go for some orange chicken. When you said that, my mouth started to water a little bit.
You have no idea.
I don't. I will say this today. I've been eating super clean, so it is really getting to me at this moment.
Yeah, I need something sweet.
Real quick, ASU's gonna pull it off, dude.
Yeah.
The defense came to play. They absolutely shut it down here in the second half. 45 seconds left, and they're taking the V formation right now. Victory formation. What are we on the?
Go get down.
He's
bro.
just trying to waste time. It's like an extra second or 2. It's like not worth it. I guess when you have, it's now literally look there is a 1.5 second difference between the game clock and the play clock. So I guess whatever.
And it's 4th and goal.
4th and goal. They're up 3. I want to be excited about this because they're going to be 3-0 after this game. Undefeated in non-conference, but it's Texas State. I don't know if I should be stoked about that.
No, definitely not.
But I mean, ASU was picked to be like 16th out of 16 teams in the Big 12 this year. So, we'll take the wins where we can get them.
When we can get it.
All right, man. That's going to be it for part 3. We'll save my little piece here for
another time.
For another time. It's probably still going to be relevant. We're going to be all right. All right. All you cheese bags out there, stay fresh with Ziploc bags.
Okay.
I just throw a little something out there.
Like fat kids in dodgeball, we're out.
I had to do something about your, unicorn sprinkling magic. I mean, that was fantastic. That was.
The JJ and Puck Show theme song is written, composed, and performed by Lane Hartman. Thank you to Highland Communities for the support of our show. You can find the JJ and Puck Show on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and anywhere you listen to your podcast. Just Google us if you're confused. Remember to share the show with your friends and family. Subscribe wherever you listen. buy a shirt, reach out to us and place an order. Each shirt is $20, and if we can hand deliver it, we will, but if we have to ship it, it'll be $25. If you're able, feel free to support us by sending a donation to us by going to kfo.com/the JJ and Pug Show. That's ko-fi.com/the JJ and Pug Show. And thanks again to all who listen. We really appreciate your support for our show, and we hope to continue to grow.